What is up, sports fans? What is up, Seattle Mariners fans? Welcome on into another happy episode of Bleav In Mariners. I'm Schultzy, Jordon Schultz, whichever one you want to call me, a Pacific Northwest talk show host based out of Portland, Oregon. Normally work on 1080 The Fan, but excited to do this Mariners podcast with Bleav. And I am so excited to get into this latest episode of the podcast. My goodness, man, what a difference a couple of weeks makes. Like, we were on the rails, coming back from my honeymoon. We talked about it. The Mariners coming fresh off. I mean, they were winning a series in Houston. It was not, or excuse me, against Houston and Seattle. It was nice to see. But after that series sweep in San Francisco, losing Victor Robles, losing Ryan Bliss, yeah, we were all on the rails. Now, thank God for Cal Raleigh. Thank God for Rowdy Tellez. I think we can say thank God for Emerson Hancock even stepping in back into the rotation with a nice start in Cincinnati last Thursday. And now we are looking at a Seattle Mariners team that, instead of being backs against the wall, back against the rails in the boxing ring, they are one game out of first place in the AL West. That is right, 12-10. They have won the last 4 series in a row. And the Mariners basically the hottest team in baseball right now. 8-2 in their last 10 games. Unbelievable to see this success. We'll talk a little bit kind of about how it's happening and why I might be a little concerned about that going forward. But really, the big question of the podcast, want to give our roses and our flowers to Cal Raleigh. Big Dumper has had an absolute torrid season so far. Just 22 games in. Dude has already hit 9 home runs. He's tied for the league lead with Tyler Soderstrom. And the main question of the podcast, he is literally on pace right now. And I know, you can get a little excited with these kinds of topics, but damn it, I want to do that with my Seattle Mariners. I want to try maybe to guess to see how much success they're actually going to have at something throughout a season, instead of like how bad they're going to be, or hoping for like some number, that Julio's going to get back to, like hitting 270 last year, hoping he gets to 20 home runs. No, I want to offer a little conjecture. I want to maybe prognosticate a little bit and ask the question, Cal Raleigh, with 9 home runs, only 22 games in, just over a tenth of the way through the regular season, is on pace, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but maybe it could, is on pace to hit 63 freaking dingers. That's right, Cal Raleigh. This is the most home runs he's ever had to this point of the season in his career so far. Tied, like I said, for the league with Tyler Soderstrom at 9. Of course, Soderstrom in a minor league park with the Athletics. Not really sure how much weight you want to give to any Athletics hitters leading or close to leading the home run chase. But Cal Raleigh is up there, and that torpedo bat from the left side has absolutely increased his ability to go yard, and I think we're seeing it. We'll go into the numbers here in a few minutes, but the big question of the podcast, Cal Raleigh, 9 home runs in so far through 22 games. Can he hit 63 home runs, which he's on pace to do? Not sure he can get that far, but I think he can hit a pretty big number, and we'll get into that. Let me know, please, on the air. Jordan with an O on Twitter is how you get in touch with us. On Bleav In Mariners as well is on the YouTube channel at Bleav In Mariners. You can like the video if you enjoy Seattle Mariners content, but also if you wanted to leave a comment or ask any questions, or throw your piece in on Cal Raleigh about how the Mariners are doing, would love to hear from you. I respond to every single comment on the channel. And please, if you are enjoying the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Really helps out the show. And of course, you can unsubscribe at any time. Same with the Apple podcast feed or the Spotify podcast feed. It would really help if you subscribe to it. Of course, you can just take me off at any time if you hate me. But to quote Jim Rome, just give me a week, all right? And then if you don't like me, just give me another week. See if you can actually get on board with what I'm doing. I completely understand if not. But really what I'm doing is just offering up takes as a diehard Seattle Mariners fan, somebody that has bled the teal green since I was about 6 years old. And, living in the Pacific Northwest, in Portland specifically, Mariners are my team. They've been my only baseball team. And even if Portland, I've been asked this a lot lately, even if Portland does get a baseball team, if they manage to get MLB to PDX, it's going to be really hard to get off my Mariners. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen, even if I do gain a hometown team. And part of that, man, thankfully we're not in the last 2 weeks dealing with this Jekyll and Hyde feeling as much. Part of that has been just the enjoyable feeling that we get when the success happens for our Seattle Mariners. And goodness gracious, let's kind of just look a little bit over the last 3 games. Huge series up in Toronto, man. It's like when the Mariners get to Canada, they all of a sudden just turn into completely different dudes. And nice to see Rowdy Tellez, and we'll get into him a little bit, but homering in 3 straight games. His average still not looking great, $156, but he hit a grand salami to seal that crazy comeback late on Saturday. It took 12 innings to do so, but then hit a pinch hit home run Friday for the Mariners' only run in the loss, and then came in, hit another pinch hit home run on Sunday. Rowdy is, I can't say he's on fire, but he's doing the things that we want him to, and he's playing a great defensive spot at first base. He's actually, I can't remember what tweet it was or who tweeted this out, but StatCast has Rowdy as one of the better gloves at first base so far. Yeah, big boy can defend. And you know what? At this point, the Mariners and their roster, it's best if Rowdy Tellez is rolled out at first base. That is literally the best option that they have at that position. So good for Rowdy. 3 home runs now, up to 4 on the season, already 11 RBIs. And yeah, only hitting like $155, $160, but I'm assuming we're going to see that average tinker up here. But one thing to look at as we do look at the success here throughout the last weekend, the Mariners getting 8 runs in that comeback win on Saturday. And one of those, of course, to tie the game initially was a home run by Ben Williamson. Congrats to him. He's looking like a pro at the plate, I got to say. I don't think he's going to be back down in Tacoma. I know his average is down a little bit after not getting not getting any hits yesterday after getting a couple on Saturday. But you know what? He kind of reminds me of Kyle Seager when he came up. You remember with Dustin Ackley? Like, Dustin was the heralded top prospect, and Kyle Seager was, his schoolmate. They both went to North Carolina, both had a championship pedigree, so to speak. But Seager came in and didn't necessarily light the world on fire, but he looked comfortable at the plate. He looked like a big league player basically as soon as he stepped into the batter's box. And you kind of feel that presence with Ben Williamson. He knows what he can do. He owns his space in that batter's box. He's really comfortable digging in, regardless of whether it be, AAA pitchers he's facing or major league talent. That doesn't seem to get to him. He doesn't seem to get caught up in the moment. So hopefully we can continue to see Ben Williamson succeed, because it would just be nice to see a young kid lock up a position that's kind of been a black hole since Eugenio Suarez unfortunately got traded because Seattle didn't want to freaking pay $12.5 million to a third baseman, because that was, according to them, too expensive. But I digress. Really nice to see Ben Williamson as well as Rowdy Tellez getting going. Luke Raley has been one of the unluckiest hitters in all of baseball. StatCast has him literally should be batting like 100 points higher. He's gotten his bat on the ball, a lot of hard hit ones. He's actually a nice outfield assist that he had over the weekend as well. So I know people were kind of being like, Luke, dude, we need something from you. And as soon as fans were crying about it, well, he gave them something. And yeah, he's not hitting quite like he should average-wise, but according to the numbers, he should literally be hitting about 100 points higher than he actually is in baseball right now. So hopefully the luck will turn around for Luke Raley. But then you look at like the other guys on the roster, J.P. Crawford actually having a good weekend as well. Kind of unsung, underheralded, I think. He's batting at the bottom of the lineup, but he's looking a little bit more like the JP of old. He's actually digging in, getting those walks. He looks comfortable in the box. I know I just said that about Ben Williamson, but he was kind of overswinging last year, or at least JP looked like he was overswinging last year. And I think he addressed his overswinging look in the offseason or in spring training. I think he told the Seattle Times it was basically because he was hurt. And when he was trying to nurse that injury, or nurse basically, only able to swing with like that upper part of the body at times last year, essentially was just kind of forced into trying to get ahead of where he usually was. And that, of course, left him at least looking like he was out in front for every single at bat. It just was not pretty last year. I think JP seems to be healthy because he's looking good as well. And cannot forget, I would be absolutely remiss. And by the way, Mitch Garver, his average is above 200 now. Nice to see. I think people can kind of get off Garv Sauce's ass just a little bit. Leo Rivas has been doing well, filling in at second base and shortstop. But really another big story over the weekend, and I would be remiss if I did not bring up Dylan freaking Moore getting AL Player of the Week. Congrats to Utility Man. Of course, he got the Golden Glove at the utility position last year, but now showing up with the bat early in the season. Dylan Moore in that stretch of last week, winning the AL Player of the Week award, 10 for 26, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. Dylan Moore hitting the cover off the ball, one of the best starts to the season, I think, ever in his career. I don't remember him really hitting this well ever, not just to start a season, but in any stretch as a Seattle Mariner. He'd get going a little bit. You know, he had a lot of doubles last season, but a lot of outs in between there, and there were a lot of long stretches where he didn't really do much. But hell, hitting 316 to start the year. Jorge Polanco obviously kind of still being pulled against left-handed hitters and not able to play the field yet, but looking okay for the Seattle Mariners over the weekend. But really, yeah, the story, Dylan Moore. I don't know if it's contract year, Dylan Moore, or if things are just starting to settle in for him. You know, some guys are late bloomers, but you're really seeing the approach for him at the plate just working, leading off one of those games over the weekend with the home run. It was Sundays, excuse me. It was actually a pretty quick one for the Toronto Blue Jays as far as feeling like they were in the game. Because first pitch, I think, Demo pops one over the left field wall for his 5th blast of the year. And then right after that, Julio gets on base, and then Cal Raleigh pops a 2-run home run for his 9th bomb of the year. And even, before the bottom of the first, before your starter Luis Castillo can take the mound, you've got a 3-0 lead. And going into, obviously, now a day off that I'm taping this, the Mariners finishing up their road trip in Boston, facing off against the Red Sox for the next 3 games. So excited to see what they can do, because their bats have been looking a lot better. But I do still, I need to point out there are a couple of concerns with this before we kind of ask that fun question about Cal Raleigh, wondering if he can hit 63 home runs in 2025. But, you know, the Mariners still do have a couple of, I'd say, blemishes on offense. Not like black holes. It's not as bad as it was last year, frankly, at this point, which thank God it's not. There are a couple of chaos ball wins that the Mariners have had, but you've seen a lot of home runs for them. And actually, the home run ball really helping them. I Bleav that when they win, every single win that they've had, they have hit a home run in. And almost all of their losses, I think like 4 or 5 out of the 10, they have not hit home runs. So it's a pretty obvious metric that when the Mariners are feeling it, they're hitting bombs, they're hitting it over the wall, and that more likely than not means that they're close to a win or going to get the win, at least so far this season. So a couple of things, though, that do concern me. One, I basically spent an entire episode talking about it on Bleav In Mariners, but I will bring it up one more time. The Mariners have to move on from Donovan Solano. Mariners Muse tweeting this out earlier Monday. He is the worst hitter in Major League Baseball with 30 plate appearances by 16 points of WRC+. Also, another tweet by Mariners Muse. After this weekend's awesome offense, every Mariner player on the active roster has at least an 83 WRC+, with 9 out of 13 hitters above league average and over 100 WRC+. That is, except for one. That would be Donovan Solano, has a minus 49 WRC+, and slashing a seemingly impossible 197 slugging percentage and 100 on-base percentage. Bleav he has like 1 RBI that he got on a sacrifice fly, and then he's batting 100 because he got a base hit, I Bleav, on Sunday. A pretty useless one, but hey, he actually got one where there wasn't anybody in the infield. Looked like he got his bat on the ball, but I don't know. That's not really much encouragement for me, frankly. Like, Donovan Solano, once again, a 5'8" first baseman, cannot be on a major league ball club if he is slotted to play first base. I am sorry. At this point, Rowdy Tellez is a much better option. He's got the glove. He can hit homers. He can win games for you. He can go yard. He can change the game at any point, unlike Donovan Solano, who certainly hasn't looked like one of the most consistent hitters in the last 4 to 6 seasons in baseball, like we heard from some of the Mariners front office and some of the off-season prognosticators in baseball. Yeah, Donovan Solano has just been absolute crap for Seattle. And I think I made the point that if you basically throw it low and away to Solano, it's either going to get him to swing or get him to strike out almost every freaking time. They need to move on. They can't give this guy now. The bats at second base are going away. Once Jorge Polanco is able to get back in to field action, you're still got Dylan Moore, maybe Leo Rivas to still give at bats to. Ben Williamson basically taking up all the at bats at third base. So you're forced to either put a guy hitting 100 at DH, which is a terrible idea, and not a big league ball club starting lineup. That's like the Tampa Bay Rays on an off year or the Colorado freaking Rockies starting lineup. You just can't do it if you're the Mariners competing for a championship. Or what? You play him at first base as a 5'8" short guy? No, absolutely not. Can't have the option of only being able to scoop those low balls. You throw it half a foot over Solano's head, and there's a good chance he's not going to get it. You just can't have that, especially on a team that has leaned on pitching and defense like it has the past few years. So that's definitely one thing that I am still concerned about, wondering how much longer Donovan Solano is going to get on the roster for the Seattle Mariners. But really, looking at their series win over the weekend, their fourth series win in a row, it's not like they're doing badly, but I would say some of their stats, unfortunately, the Mariners not looking completely competent at the plate all the time. Check this out. 11 strikeouts in their 8-4 win in 12 innings on Saturday. You know, it's extra innings, literally 3 more innings than you normally play. So that 11 maybe inflated a little bit. But check this out. Even in a massive win, 8-3 on Sunday, the Mariners sealing the series against the Blue Jays within Toronto, they struck out 18 freaking times. 2 wins, guys, 29 strikeouts. It looks like, because the Mariners are walking a lot more when you look at the stats, it kind of looks like, I was telling my dad this earlier today, the Mariners are kind of looking like the 3 true outcome player, right? But like 1 through 9 as a whole team. They either walk, they either hit a home run, or they either strike out. And you think of guys that are like 3 true outcome players. It's like Joey Gallo, Adam Dunn, Richie Sexson. Like long-term 3 true outcome players are cogs that might make a lineup spin or might make a lineup work, but you've got to have a lot of successful hitters getting on base. And hey, they're stealing a lot of bases as well, so it doesn't really matter if it's a hit or if it's a walk, but you kind of need to see, like, we've still got a lot of batters batting under 200 for Seattle. Unfortunately, Julio Rodriguez, not somebody that I was bringing up doing very good over the weekend. He had a hit Saturday, but down to like a $175 again, average-wise. Thankfully, Randy Arozarena, his average is finally getting up to around 200 after their Saturday win. And Luke Raley, once again, under 200, although he's been one of the unluckiest hitters in all of baseball. So you would think that luck's going to turn around for him, but the team, I can deal with a player or 2, even 3, being 3 true outcome hitters, but I'm not sure a team of 3 true outcome hitters is going to get you to the playoffs. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Moneyball approach of walks mattering just as much as hits, and they truly do. Really, and you look at like Cal Raleigh, bang up year so far as we transition to him here in just a second, man, having crazy stats. He's hitting like, I think, the highest OPS that he has in his entire career. A 333 on base percentage so far, a 593 slugging, good for a 926 OPS. That is 200 points higher than anything he's ever had in his career up to this point. So far and above a career high year for Cal Raleigh so far. And thankfully, that kind of leads us into more of a fun conversation. Cal Raleigh may be, representing one of the better things about true outcome hitters, but can't have a full team of them. We need to see more doubles from Julio. We need to see guys getting into scoring position immediately, especially if they want to win against some of these better teams. And actually, really quickly, before we get into Cal Raleigh, did want to mention some great news about George Kirby. He is set to throw a live bullpen this week, back with the team for the first time since spring training. He has basically been in Peoria, Arizona, kind of doing a little bit of rehab, just trying to get his arm strength built back up after taking a bit of time off in the spring. But live BP means hitters for the first time since that point. And you would assume that means that George Kirby, who, I would say is needed back soon. But I think that you do need to make sure you don't rush him back. Hancock really did turn it around in that last start against Cincinnati. Once again, he's added to his velocity in the offseason. He's added couple of pitches, that huge breaking ball that he has now in his arsenal. It was very touted to start the season, but unfortunately, it was not a good look for him in that early start. Got absolutely rocked early in the year, but really turned it around in Cincinnati. He surrendered that 2-run homer in the first inning Thursday, but zeroed in after, scoreless the rest of the way, 5 frames total, and he went 2 times through the Reds lineup, and the Mariners now feeling a lot more confidence in Emerson Hancock. So yeah, don't need to rush George Kirby back, but great news that he is going to be hopefully back soon, at least now with the team this week. All right, but the fun topic of this show, I really did want to ask Cal Raleigh. He has been absolutely just obviously playing at a career high level, but so entertaining. And I think in a lot of Mariners fans has kind of taken another step talent-wise. And we were kind of wondering in the offseason if Cal had already topped out talent-wise. Dude has been so good, gotten better every single year with his stats as a Seattle Mariner, basically coming in late in 2022. Well, late May in 2022 after he was sent down briefly. And then in a very short span, hit 27 homers. Of course, led the team back to the playoffs in 2022. Those 27 home runs, of course, then turning into 30 and 75 ribbies last season. 34 home runs, 100 RBIs. And his average kind of floating around a little bit, but, usually anywhere from 210 to 230 for Cal Raleigh and around a 750, maybe 770 on base plus slugging. So we know what we've gotten from Cal Raleigh, but excited to see that talent kind of jump up another level. And it makes you wonder, Cal Raleigh playing, after he got his platinum glove, playing really like somebody that could be, if he continues to hit like this, in the conversation for best catchers of all time. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but the Mariners think that as well, obviously, by locking him up to that long-term deal. But you look, of course, at home runs in a season for catchers. Overall, do you think that Cal Raleigh can get close to 63? That's really the big question. He is on pace to hit 63 home runs right now this season. Do you think he can do it? I don't think that's necessarily realistic. It's really hard for anybody to hit 50. The catcher that has hit the most home runs, of course, I think y'all remember. If not, it's Salvador Perez back in 2021. Second would be Johnny Bench all the way back in 1970. And then third, Javi Lopez randomly with the Atlanta Braves in 2003. You kind of wonder, I think he jumped up from like 16 home runs the year before. You kind of wonder if some substances were attached to that. I don't know. Allegedly, maybe. But other than like Salvador Perez, who I've never heard attached to anything, seems like he's done it clean, and Johnny Bench, because then you look further down the list at like Mike Piazza, who admitted to taking the same thing Mark McGwire had, androstenedione. You can find that anywhere on the internet. Admitted that publicly. Did say he stopped taking it in 1998, but his 2 home runs, 240 home run seasons came in 97 and 99. I don't know. You be the judge. And then Todd Hundley in 96 actually was also named in the Mitchell report, but he is 4th overall for catchers, hitting home runs in a single season at 41. Do you think amongst all these great names, Johnny Bench, obvious Hall of Famer, Roy Campanella's on this list with 41 back in 1953, 5th overall catchers leading home runs in a single season. He's obviously in the Hall of Fame as well. Mike Piazza in the Hall of Fame. Is Cal Raleigh hitting enough to be considered one of these greats early on in his career? You look at guys like Johnny Bench, I think Cal Raleigh's pretty comparable to that. It's not necessarily a position that you're going to get a ton of athleticism from, but guess what? Johnny Bench in 1970 stole 5 bases. It's kind of the same thing that Cal does on the base paths now. Carlton Fisk, 10th on this list with 37 home runs for the 1985 Chicago White Sox. He stole 17 bases. So you kind of look at these all-time greats. Cal Raleigh really does, along with the defensive prowess, really match what these guys did on not only at the plate, but on the base paths as well. His career average was a little bit better than Cal Raleigh's hitting so far. Johnny Bench's was 267, but I don't think that the average should take away from what Cal Raleigh is doing. He still gets on base. He still walks a hell of a lot. And I don't think he's necessarily a true outcome hitter by design, but it's kind of what we've been seeing from these Seattle Mariners so far this season. But he's in a lot of homers. The torpedo bat, at least from the left side, is really helping him. What do you think, Mariners fans? Can Cal Raleigh hit 63 home runs in a season? Probably not. Could he hit 50? I think that is legitimately possible. You look, and this is what we'll end the podcast with. You look so far at his career. Obviously, in 2022, he came up and then went back down to start the season. So at this point, so April 21st in 2022, I think he had like one home run after being up early in the season. Later on in his career, 23, he had 5 home runs on this date. Of course, last year, same. He had 5 home runs. I believe he hit his 6th home run like 2 days later. So Cal, at this point in 2025, is 4 home runs ahead of his career pace. Does that mean that that will be sustained throughout the months? Can he hit 8 to 9 home runs a month instead of 5 to 6? That's kind of the question that we've got to see answered. And if he can, then he's gearing towards 50, and that's actually an easy number. But that's kind of where we have to leave it on Bleav In Mariners. Let me know with a comment below how many home runs you think Cal Raleigh can hit this year. Can he hit 63? Probably not. That's what he's on pace for, but I do think Cal Raleigh can have a hell of a season and hit 50. I honestly think 45 is almost... You can't call anything a for sure thing, but if he continues at this pace, he's going to hit freaking 45 by the time we get to August. All right, appreciate everybody that's been listening to this episode of Bleav In Mariners. Make sure you add us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please subscribe to the podcast. Really helps us out, and leave a 5-star rating and a comment. Tell us what you like about the show, and tell us about anything you want to hear coming up on the show. Would love to get some feedback from y'all. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube as well at Bleav In Mariners. So excited to see what the Mariners do in Boston. My wife's old stomping grounds. She's from Boston, Massachusetts, so it's always a fun one in our house when the Mariners play there. But it's going to be a great series, and hopefully the Mariners can wrap their road trip up the right way. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Keep those tridents up, Mariners fans. See you soon.